Chosen one, have you noticed how people act differently around you now? The ones who once mocked you now move with fear. The ones who doubted you now feel threatened. This is not random. They see something in you that they cannot control, and that terrifies them. Chosen one, something has shifted within you, and you've felt it. It's as if the very air around you has changed. People who once dismissed you as insignificant now look at you differently. Their eyes betray their discomfort, their unease, and even fear. But why? Why do they act this way? It's because your awakening has brought you to a new level of power and awareness that they cannot ignore. For years, no, for centuries, society has worked tirelessly to keep people like you asleep, to suppress your voice, to dim your light, and to convince you that you are nothing special. But now, the truth is breaking through. Your energy has shifted, and now you're no longer just a bystander. You're a threat to everything they've built. Stay with me in this video, and I'll reveal exactly why they fear you, the tactics they've used to hold you back, and what comes next for someone who has fully awakened like you. Before we dive in, I need you to like this video and comment 77 if you resonate with this message. This isn't just a video, it's a movement of awakening chosen ones. Let me leave you with this thought. The fact that they're afraid of you now isn't your weakness. It's your greatest proof of strength. Watch until the end to see what happens next. Why people are suddenly afraid of you. Something about you has shifted in a way that words alone cannot explain. It's as if an unseen force is now emanating from your very being, commanding attention, challenging norms, and disrupting the comfortable dynamics of the world around you. People who once treated you with indifference, mockery, or even condescension suddenly seem uneasy in your presence. Have you noticed it? The way conversations pause when you enter the room? The way some people avoid meeting your gaze, as if looking into your eyes would reveal truths about themselves that they're not ready to face. This isn't mere coincidence or your imagination playing tricks on you. It is the undeniable effect of your spiritual awakening. You've stepped into a version of yourself that is no longer bound by fear, insecurity, or the need for external validation. And that transformation, chosen one, is what terrifies them. The shift you've experienced is deeply spiritual in nature. In a world where so many people operate on autopilot, locked into routines dictated by fear and societal expectations, you have become a living contradiction. You are awake to your purpose, your worth, and your power. And when a person awakens, it's not just their life that changes, it's the environment around them. Your very presence becomes a mirror, reflecting back to others their own unfulfilled potential, their hidden fears, and the darkness they have tried so hard to suppress. This is why their reactions to you seem so strange. Some might act overly friendly, trying to mask their discomfort. Others may become distant, guarded, or even defensive. They don't understand why they feel the way they do around you, but spiritually, they sense it. You are no longer someone they can easily define, control, or dismiss. Proverbs 28 verse 1 captures this dynamic perfectly. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Your spiritual awakening has given you a boldness that disrupts the fragile sense of control they've built their lives upon. This boldness isn't about arrogance or aggression. It's about a quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing who you are in God and aligning with your divine purpose. This kind of confidence is rare in a world that thrives on insecurity and comparison. When you no longer seek approval from others, you become untouchable in ways they can't comprehend. It's not just what you say or do, it's the energy you carry. It speaks volumes without uttering a single word, and it challenges the very foundation of how they view themselves and the world. To understand this, think of a dark room that has existed in silence for years. Everyone inside has grown accustomed to the darkness, learning to navigate it. rationalizing their inability to see clearly. But then, someone walks in with a bright light. Suddenly, every shadow is exposed, every flaw becomes visible, and the comfort of the darkness is shattered. That light doesn't have to say anything or force itself upon the darkness. It simply shines, and its presence alone changes everything. You are that light. Your awakening is that illumination, and while some may be drawn to it, others will recoil, because the light makes them confront things they'd rather ignore. The discomfort they feel is spiritual, and it goes deeper than surface-level interactions. For years, perhaps even your entire life, the people around you thought they had you figured out. Maybe they underestimated you, placing you into a box of their own design. Maybe they relied on your doubts and insecurities to keep you small, to keep the power dynamics comfortable for them. But now, all of that has changed. Your awakening has made it clear that you are no longer bound by their expectations or limited by their opinions. They sense it. They feel the authority in your presence, and it unsettles them because they can no longer predict your next move. You've become an enigma to them, a force that they cannot categorize, and that unknown is frightening. Even those who once ridiculed you or dismissed your dreams are beginning to realize that their assumptions were wrong. Think about David in 1 Samuel 17. Before he defeated Goliath, he was just a shepherd boy in the eyes of his brothers and the rest of Israel. But when he stepped into his purpose, his boldness and faith transformed him into a force that even a giant could not withstand. The same is true for you. Those who laughed at your vision, dismissed your potential, or spoke behind your back are now beginning to feel the weight of your transformation. And yet, their fear has little to do with you personally. It's about what you represent. You are proof that it is possible to break free from the chains of fear and limitation, and that truth shakes them to their core. This spiritual awakening isn't without its challenges. The fear you inspire in others can sometimes manifest as resistance, hostility, or even sabotage. You may notice that certain people begin to question your motives, spread rumors, or try to undermine you in subtle ways. This is because your presence disrupts the carefully constructed illusions they've built around themselves. But take heart, chosen one. Their fear is not a reflection of your weakness. It is a testament to your strength. Just as Jesus' boldness and truth made the religious leaders of his time uneasy, your awakening will challenge the systems and people that thrive on control and conformity. In daily life, this might look like coworkers who suddenly seem threatened by your ideas, friends who grow distant, or even family members who question your newfound confidence. But don't let their reactions deter you. Instead, see them as confirmation that you are walking in your purpose. Remember, their discomfort is not your burden to carry. Your light is meant to shine, not to be dimmed for the sake of others' comfort. Matthew 5 verse 14 reminds us, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid." Your awakening is meant to inspire, to challenge, and to guide, not to be hidden or suppressed. This transformation is not just about you. It's about the greater cosmic purpose you've been called to fulfill. Think of yourself as a key that unlocks doors, not just for yourself, but for others who are ready to awaken. Your presence, your boldness, and your energy are catalysts for change. Yes, some will fear you, but others will be drawn to you, seeking the same freedom and awakening that you have found. Your journey is a beacon, a reminder that it is possible to rise above the noise, the fear, and the illusions of this world. So when you notice people acting differently around you, take it as a sign that you're stepping into the fullness of who you were created to be. The fear they feel is not your responsibility. It is their reaction to the power of God working through you. You don't need to apologize for your growth or dim your light to make others comfortable. Instead, stand firm in your awakening. knowing that you are fulfilling a purpose far greater than yourself. Comment fearless if you've felt this shift in your own life. And stay with me, because next, we'll uncover why society has always tried to suppress chosen ones like you. How the world has always tried to suppress chosen ones. From the very dawn of creation, the world has seemed to conspire against those who dare to rise above its systems and structures. Chosen ones, those set apart for divine purpose, have always faced resistance, not merely because of who they are, but because of what they represent. The story is as old as time itself, woven into the very fabric of human history. The powers that be, whether they are kings, religious leaders, or societal systems, have always feared the awakening of individuals who refuse to be controlled. These are the disruptors, the ones who cannot be silenced, whose very existence challenges the status quo. And, chosen one, you are part of this legacy. Think back to Moses standing before Pharaoh, delivering the command of God, "Let my people go." This was not just an act of defiance. It was an act of liberation, a disruption to a system that relied on the subjugation of an entire nation. Pharaoh's fear wasn't just about losing his slaves. It was about losing control. Moses represented a truth that could no longer be contained, a divine authority that no human power could overthrow. In that moment, Pharaoh's grip on the Israelites wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. He had built an empire on the backs of their bondage, and the awakening of a chosen one threatened to dismantle it all. The same pattern repeats throughout history. Elijah, for instance, stood boldly against King Ahab and the prophets of Baal, calling down fire from heaven to prove the power of the one true God. But notice this. It wasn't just the display of power that threatened the king and his court. It was Elijah's refusal to conform, to bow to the idols of the day. His very presence exposed the emptiness of their systems, and for that, he was hunted, chased into the wilderness. This wasn't merely political, it was deeply spiritual. Elijah's boldness revealed a truth they couldn't ignore, and it terrified them. Fast forward to the New Testament, where Jesus himself faced relentless opposition. From the moment of his birth, King Herod sought to destroy him, fearing the rise of a new king who would challenge his throne. And throughout his ministry, Jesus was constantly confronted by religious leaders who felt their power slipping away with every miracle, every parable, every truth he spoke. They couldn't handle the freedom he represented, the authority he carried, or the light he brought into the darkness. His very existence was a threat to the systems they had spent centuries building. But, chosen one, here's the truth they don't want you to know. This resistance isn't about you personally. It's about the power, the light, and the truth you carry. You see, the systems of this world thrive on control. Whether it's through fear, distraction, or manipulation, they are designed to keep people asleep, to keep them too busy, too afraid, or too disconnected to realize their true potential. Your awakening disrupts all of that. When you step into your identity as a chosen one, you become a living example of freedom. And freedom is the one thing they cannot control. This isn't just a story of ancient times. It's happening right now all around you. Think about the messages you're bombarded with every day, from social media to advertising to the news. Everything is designed to keep you focused on the external, to distract you from the internal. The world doesn't want you to slow down and reflect, to ask the deeper questions, or to seek the truth. Why? Because when you do, you begin to see through the illusions. You start to realize that the things you were taught to fear, failure, rejection, even death, have no real power over you. And when you're no longer afraid, you cannot be controlled. The Bible speaks of this in John 8, verse 32. "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Freedom begins with truth. Truth about who you are, why you're here, and the power that resides within you. But the world has always feared this kind of freedom. It's why societies have historically oppressed voices that challenge the norm, from prophets to reformers, visionaries to revolutionaries. The pattern is the same. Those who awaken to their purpose, who step into their God-given authority, are seen as threats, not because they seek to harm, but because their very existence exposes the lies that hold others captive. Think about how this plays out in your own life. Have you noticed how certain people react differently to you now? Perhaps friends who once supported you have grown distant, or coworkers who once praised you now seem to undermine you. This isn't random. Your awakening is a mirror, reflecting back to them the areas of their lives where they've settled for less, where they've allowed fear or complacency to dictate their choices. For some, this reflection is too much to bear, and their discomfort manifests as resistance. This resistance isn't limited to individuals. Entire systems are designed to suppress chosen ones. Look at the way creativity is often stifled in corporate environments, or how independent thought is discouraged in educational settings. The world teaches conformity, not individuality, because individuality is harder to control. But, chosen one, you were never meant to conform. Romans 12 verse 2 reminds us, "Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Your mind, your spirit, your purpose. They were designed to rise above the noise, to transcend the limitations imposed by society. This journey isn't easy. Awakening to your purpose means confronting the very systems that once felt familiar, even comforting. It means walking a path that often feels lonely, as those around you struggle to understand your transformation. But take heart. You are not alone in this journey. Throughout history, every chosen one has walked this road, and while the resistance is real, so is the power within you to overcome it. Imagine a river cutting through a mountain. At first glance, the mountain seems immovable, unshakable. But over time, the persistent flow of water carves a path, reshaping the landscape entirely. You are that river. The systems of this world may seem impenetrable, but your truth, your light, and your awakening are forces that cannot be stopped. With every step you take in alignment with your purpose, you are creating a ripple effect that will outlast the resistance you face. This is your cosmic purpose: to shine in a world that thrives on shadows, to disrupt systems that perpetuate fear, and to awaken others to their own potential. Your journey is not just about you. It's about the countless lives you are destined to impact. The resistance you face is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of progress. It means you're stepping into the fullness of who you were created to be. So when the world pushes back, when people misunderstand you, or when the systems around you seem to tighten their grip, remember this: you are not here to fit in. You are here to transform, to awaken, and to lead. Come and awake if you're starting to see how this pattern has played out in your own life. But stay tuned, because what comes next will reveal just how powerful you've become. Chosen one, we're only halfway through this journey, and the revelations are just getting started. If what I've said so far resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and click the super thanks button to support this message. What I'm about to share will explain why they can no longer stop you, the signs that you have become too powerful for them to ignore. Have you felt the change in the way people treat you? Maybe it's subtle at first, a strained smile, a sudden avoidance of conversation, or an awkward silence when you walk into a room. Or perhaps it's more overt, people questioning your decisions, reacting with defensiveness to your confidence, or even displaying hostility that seems unwarranted. You're not imagining it. These aren't random occurrences. They are the unmistakable signs that your spiritual awakening has made you too powerful for them to ignore. Whether it's their words, their actions, or even their body language, the message is clear. Something about you now disrupts their comfort zone, and they don't know how to handle it. What's changed, you might wonder? The answer is simple but profound. You've broken free from the invisible chains that once held you down. Those chains may have been fear, doubt, insecurity, or a need for external validation. Whatever they were, they no longer define you. And when you shed those chains, you not only liberate yourself, you change the dynamic of every relationship, every interaction, and every space you inhabit. The power you've stepped into is not about dominance or control. It's about self-mastery. You've come to understand who you are and why you're here, and that knowledge radiates from you in ways you might not even realize. It's not just in what you say or do, it's in your energy, your presence, and your alignment with your divine purpose. This shift is something people can feel, even if they can't articulate it. They may not understand what's happening, but their spirits do. Your presence becomes a spiritual mirror, reflecting back to them their own unhealed wounds, unresolved fears, and unmet potential. For some, this is inspiring. For others, it's unsettling. And for a few, it's downright threatening. When someone has built their identity around control, whether it's control of others, control of situations, or control of their own fragile sense of self, your independence feels like an attack. Your light exposes the shadows they've been trying to hide, and your growth challenges them to confront the parts of themselves they've been avoiding. The Bible gives us a powerful example of this in Acts 4, verse 13, where Peter and John, filled with the Holy Spirit, spoke with such boldness that even their enemies were astonished. These were uneducated men by worldly standards, but their confidence and authority were undeniable. Their transformation was so evident that the religious leaders who opposed them could only marvel and say, "These men have been with Jesus." That's the kind of power your awakening carries. It's not about credentials, titles, or outward accomplishments. It's about the undeniable presence of something greater within you. And just like Peter and John, your transformation doesn't go unnoticed. It commands attention, whether people like it or not. You may have noticed that even your silence carries weight now. You don't have to explain yourself or defend your actions. Your very being speaks volumes. This is one of the most powerful shifts that happens during spiritual awakening. When you're no longer reactive, when you no longer feel the need to prove your worth or seek approval, you disrupt the patterns that others rely on to maintain control. Imagine a chessboard where one piece suddenly stops following the expected rules. It throws the entire game into chaos. That's what your independence does. It rewrites the rules, and not everyone knows how to adapt. This newfound power can manifest in ways that are deeply personal. You might find that certain relationships begin to change, sometimes dramatically. Friends who once celebrated your victories may now seem distant or even resentful. Family members who were once supportive might begin to question your choices. Even strangers might react to you in ways that feel inexplicably charged. These reactions aren't about you as a person. They're about the energy you carry. It's important to understand that not everyone is ready to face the truths that your presence reveals. Some will resist it, not out of malice, but out of fear. Others may project their insecurities onto you, interpreting your growth as arrogance or selfishness. And a few may even try to sabotage you, not because they hate you, but because they fear losing the version of you they were comfortable with. This dynamic is especially evident in professional or social settings. You may notice that your ideas, once dismissed or ignored, now provoke strong reactions. Coworkers who never saw you as a threat might suddenly feel the need to compete with you or undermine your efforts. Authority figures might react defensively, sensing that you're no longer intimidated by their position. Even casual acquaintances might start to treat you differently, as if they sense that you've outgrown the confines of the roles they once placed you in. These shifts can be confusing and even painful at times, but they are also proof of your transformation. One of the challenges of this stage is learning to navigate these reactions without losing your center. It's tempting to fall into old patterns, to explain yourself, to seek approval, or to dim your light for the sake of keeping the peace. But doing so would be a disservice to yourself and to the divine purpose you've been called to fulfill. Remember, the resistance you face is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're becoming the person you were always meant to be. The harder they try to resist you, the more they reveal their own fear, and that fear has nothing to do with you. It's about the power within you that they cannot control. This power is not just for your benefit. It's part of a greater cosmic purpose. Imagine yourself as a lighthouse in the midst of a storm. Your light isn't meant to argue with the waves or convince the wind to calm down. It's simply meant to shine, providing guidance and hope for those who are ready to find their way. Some will be drawn to your light, inspired by your courage and clarity. Others will fight against it, preferring the comfort of the storm. But either way, your role is the same: to stand firm and let your light shine. Why they can't stop you anymore? No matter what they do, chosen one, they can't stop you. They've tried everything, haven't they? They've whispered doubts into your mind, planted seeds of fear in your heart, and worked tirelessly to remind you of your past, hoping you'd stay tethered to the old version of yourself. They've used discouragement as a weapon, hoping you'd second-guess your purpose and abandon your path. But their efforts have failed. They're failing because your awakening is a process they cannot reverse. You've stepped into the truth of who you are, and no amount of resistance can undo that. What has been revealed to you cannot be unseen. What you've experienced in your spirit cannot be forgotten. You are no longer the person you used to be, and that terrifies them because they know there's nothing they can do to pull you back into their control. Think about this. The tactics they use against you are rooted in their own desperation. They throw doubt at you because they know you've moved beyond a place where they can manipulate you with lies. They try to stir up fear because they sense that your faith has made you fearless. They hope you'll crumble under discouragement because they see the strength you now walk in. Their efforts are not born out of power, but out of weakness. What they don't realize is that every attempt to stop you only strengthens you further. Every trial they place in your path becomes fuel for your growth. Every attack they launch becomes an opportunity for God to show His power in your life. What they meant for harm, God is using for your good. Isaiah 54 verse 17 declares, "No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn." This is the truth of your journey. The weapons will be formed, the doubts, the discouragement, the fear, but they will not prosper. They might press against you, but they cannot penetrate the armor of God that surrounds you. Their words may rise against you, but they hold no power, because your identity is rooted in something far greater than their opinions. You are operating in alignment with a divine purpose, and nothing, no person, no system, no force can undo what God has ordained for you. You are no longer bound by the limitations they tried to place on you, and they know it. Imagine trying to stop the sun from rising or the tides from coming in. It's a futile effort. That's how they feel when they see you now. They realize that no matter what they do, they cannot stop what's coming. You've likely noticed that the resistance intensifies the more you step into your purpose. At first, it might have been subtle, small slights, quiet doubts. But now, as your confidence grows and your light shines brighter, the resistance becomes louder and more persistent. This is because they see what you might not fully see yet: your unstoppable potential. Chosen one, they fear you because they see your power. They tried to stop you, but they failed. And now, there's no turning back. You are unstoppable. If this message resonated with you, like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and comment, "I am chosen to declare your awakening." Until next time, keep shining, keep rising, and never forget, you were born for this.